So today I'm going to take a look at one of the GNU core utils by the name of Fold, which will let you fold a section of text into a specified width. So if you're new to this channel, remember to subscribe and ding the little bell icon down below because it'll really help the channel out. I'm aiming for 1,000 subs and any help would be really appreciated. So now that's out of the way, let's get started. Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to the channel. So this program itself is probably going to be installed on basically every Linux distro you have. So it goes by the name of Fold, as I mentioned before. So this is just one of the standard GNU tools. So as I said, it'll probably be installed in your system. If it's not, I'm sure there's some way to get it installed. So what this lets you do is basically make a file of text or something from standard input wrap at a certain line width. And you might be wondering why something like this exists. And the reason it does is because of older terminals which had a width of usually 80 columns. So if you have text that goes over that width, then it's going to start wrapping weirdly. So this will let you actually specify the wrapping properly. So we'll get some text to actually test this with, and I'm just going to use lorem ipsum because that's very, very obvious basic text to use. So we'll bring that into a file, call it test file, and paste that in. Move those blank lines, and yeah, that'll work. Cool. So if we cut that out, you'll see that some of the columns take up way too much space, and it becomes a bit difficult to read on a terminal. So if we cut that test file, as you can see, some of it will go right to the end of the screen, and sure, you can read it. There's no trouble in reading it, especially on a system like this, but some words you'll have actually cutting off in the middle of a word, and it's not really that easy to read. But if we then run this with fold, so if we fold the test file, that will then by default fold it at 80 characters. And it still cuts off words, but instead of taking up the entire screen, for my system it's taking up about half. So obviously that's not going to be the same on every system. It just happened that with this zoom level and my font size, it's about the center of the screen. So with Fold, you can actually specify other widths besides 80. So if we bring up the man page, so man fold, then we can specify by a bunch of different options. So if we specify by bytes, that'll specify by the actual size of these strings. We can do spaces and we can do width. So if we do, we'll do width first. So if we fold by -w, so that's for width, or we could write out the full word for width, I believe it was. Was it? Yes, maybe? Oh no, it's double dash. So we can do fold -w or --width. We'll just do -w because that's a bit easier to write. And then we can say, let's fold it at 40 characters, for example. And then we put in the test file. And there we go. Now it's about half as wide as it was before. So it's exactly half as wide because I'm using a monospace font. So basically that's folding at a certain width. So as I said, you can also do it on spaces. So if we want to fold at 40 characters, but don't want to word break, if we do the -s option as well, then basically we'll see what happens here. So if we go up, where were we? Okay, so if we look at this first line here, so this goes up to this word and then cuts off in the middle of this word. But if we go down here, that word is now entirely on the next line. So any words that don't fit within that specified limit are just pushed down to the next line. So this makes it a bit longer, but it's also going to make it a bit easier to read. So if we drop the width and just go back to using 80 characters, we'll see what the difference is. So I'll run this without the -s option so you have a comparison point. So if we look in here, so let's see, on this first line, without having the -s option, this word here, my Latin is horrendous. I'm not even going to try that. Ferendus, whatever. With the -s option, that is then moved down to the next line. So basically what the -s option will do is make it so instead of cutting words off, if it won't fit into the width that you've provided, then it will just drop them down to the next line. So we'll also have the option of doing by bytes. So that is just the -b option. So if we do fold -b, which I'll clear the screen because it's getting a bit hectic. So fold -b at, let's say, 40 bytes and on the test file. Oh, I have to not put a space for that one, I guess. I'm not sure why. That's really weird. So we'll just clear that again. And okay, so fold-b 40 bytes for the test file. So that's where it stops for that one. And if we do -w this time, then it's basically the same. I think it's exactly the same, actually. I'm not sure how you would make that so it's not the same, because, well, isn't each character 1 byte? Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. I can't remember how big a Unicode character is. Someone tell me. I should know this. I feel like it was drilled into my head back in my first year of uni, but I've forgotten it by now. So if at this stage you're not really sure what productive use this program actually has, that makes sense, because really it's mainly an aesthetic thing, especially on modern systems. Obviously with older terminals where you actually had those limits and you had to wrap stuff so it would actually be properly readable, then there was actually a proper use for them. But I actually do have a use for it, and it's mainly because I have a really bad habit when I'm writing markdown files. So if we bring up the test file again, I don't know why my Vim's being really slow today. It's odd. Anyway, we'll remove some of these lines. So what I'll typically do when I'm writing markdown is I will write these entire paragraphs, but because I'm using Vim, I don't really have to put them on new lines. I can just write an entire paragraph and then put a new line right at the end, and that really makes it difficult to not read, because I can read it perfectly fine like this, and if I wanted to, I could use Goyo to center it, and then it would actually make it easy to read like that. But the problem that this causes is when I'm trying to diff files. So if you haven't used diff before, basically what that will do, it works the exact same way as git diff as well. So it will tell you what lines you've made changes on, and basically it'll give you a visual cue for what lines they're on. But the problem is that when you have everything on one line, then it treats the entire line as having changed instead of one section of it like you would have if you did stuff on separate lines properly. So with Markdown, if you don't have a double space, it just treats stuff as one block. So what we can do with this, if we quit out of that and we go fold-s, so we'll use breaking on spaces and test file, and then we redirect that to, let's just call it test file 2. So that should work now. We go test file 2, and as we can see in here, everything has now been broken up into new lines. So if we were to run a diff on this after editing one of these lines, obviously I haven't set diff up to be able to work on this, so I haven't run any diff patches or anything like that. So I'm not going to be able to show you this, but since everything is now on a separate line, if we did have that set up, then if we edited one of these lines, then we could clearly see which line has been edited. The other nice thing is that when everything's on multiple lines, it's a lot easier to navigate through it with Vim. So I'll bring up a new terminal with the other file on it, because I didn't show this before. So quit out of that. Okay, so with everything being on one line like this, you can't actually cycle through it with J and K. So if we get to this point, what's going to happen when we press J again is we're going to jump down to this bottom line down here instead of jumping to where this NT is. So we press that now, we jump down here. So it makes it a lot harder to navigate through this text as well. So we would actually have to either cycle through like this or go by word, or we could search for something like Vero. But when everything is on a separate line like this, you can just navigate through it just as it normally is. So it makes it so much easier to actually navigate through the text. So really that is just an aesthetic thing, but there is some practical implication to actually using this program. So if we quit out of that, and I guess we don't need that one either. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for Fold. There's not really anything to go over. It's a very, very simple program that does a very, very simple task, but it is a very useful task, especially when you need it. So I think that's pretty much everything for this video. If you like this video, remember to smash that like button and leave me a comment down below to let me know what you think. If you want me to cover any of the other core GNU tools, let me know. I'm obviously not going to cover something like cat, but maybe I'll do something on awk or sed or one of the other interesting ones. I found out about Fold today and I thought it was really cool, so that's why I decided to do a video on it. So if you're new to this channel, remember to subscribe and ding the little bell icon down below, because it'll really help the channel out. Any help be really appreciated. If you want to support the channel, I now have support links down below, so go check those out. There's like a Patreon, a PayPal, and some crypto addresses if you want to send me that. And yeah, go follow my Twitter and my Mastodon if you want proper video updates, because YouTube can never actually be trusted to push them to anyone. Up on that corner, I've got the playlist that there's videos in, so go check that out if you want to see other videos like this. Don't know what else is going to be in there. It will probably be something like Linux tutorials, so random other Linuxy videos. And I think that is pretty much everything for me, so I'm out.